You know how Kirby says pollo all the time? Well, the way he says that is the same way you would say the word chicken in Spanish. So, I don't know if the fact that I hear Kirby running around shouting chicken makes him more adorable, and now I have cursed you all with that knowledge. So how about that new Kirby game? Kirby and the Forgotten Land is truly a landmark entry in the series, as it's the first mainline Kirby game to be created within a full 3D setting. While the series was no stranger to using 3D as far back as the N64, this is the first time Kirby can traverse properly with the Z-axis, and it feels great. Originally, I just wanted to do a standard tier list video ranking all the copy abilities, and I will have a part of the video where I still do that, but I want to do more reviews on this channel, so screw it. I decided to make a full-on review of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I mean, I already 100% the game, I've been a massive Kirby fan since I was little, so yeah, let me talk about my history with the series briefly. I know I talk about RPGs for the most part on this channel, but as you can tell, I like Nintendo games a lot. And while I didn't play a Zelda game until I was a teenager who started with Skyward Sword and absolutely hated it, there were other series that I loved. I remember all the time I spent with Mario and his RPG games, all the Pokemon games and those spin-offs, before they all became crappy half-baked microtransaction cash grabs that are, you know, aimed at children. But through it all, Mario wasn't the platformer I spent the most time with. No, that was Kirby. And that probably explains why I'm really bad at them. Superstar Ultra, Squeak Squad, Return to Dreamland, and we can't forget the original 3D title, Kirby Air Ride. Oh man, the memories are coming back with Air Ride. Hal, please, make a $30 eShop title using those mechanics again, I beg you. Despite my nostalgic attachment to those titles, I can genuinely say that Forgotten Land is one of the best Kirby games in the series. So, what makes Forgotten Land so good? The overall plot of the game has Kirby and all of the inhabitants of Dreamland sucked into a dimensional fissure where they wake up in a Shiverstar post-Ice Age, also known as a post-apocalyptic Earth. So, while you're wondering what kind of eldritch abomination Kirby is going to have to fight, Kirby, being Kirby, instead does stuff like this. Now that's the good shit we need in life. Eventually, you make your way to what will become your base of operations, Waddle Dee Town, where you save a native pair of blue ears known as Elflin from the main enemy of the game, the Beast Pack, who are adorable. Seriously, I hate fighting them, they're way too cute for their own good. Freshly rescued, Elflin wants to help Kirby free the Waddle Dees for no real reason, so it raises the question of whether he is truly a friend, or if we're getting Magolord again. Regardless, we gotta explore this abandoned planet and save the Waddle Dees as you need them in order to proceed. Each world requires a certain number of Waddle Dees from that specific world to face the boss, and each time Kirby clears a level, you're guaranteed 3 of them, but you do have to find some of the hidden ones in order to proceed. Each level has approximately 7 to 8 Waddle Dees early on, with later areas having up to 9 or even 10 of them per level. Daunting at first, but each time you clear a level, you get a hint as to what you have to do to find another secret Waddle Dee that you've missed, making 100% so much easier to obtain, since some of these Waddle Dees, yeah, you would never figure out how to get these on your own. But I doubt you'll miss more than 1 or 2, 3 max in each level, so the requirements really aren't that harsh. The bosses also give their own Waddle Dees with their own challenges, like using a certain copy ability, countering the gimmick of the fight, or getting a perfect run. Early bosses like Goramongo or Clawroline are fairly predictable, but some of the later bosses like Silly Dillo can be real pains on the first try. I mentioned Silly Dillo specifically because that is just complete nightmare fuel, or as I like to call it, FNAF fanfic fuel. Eventually, you'll figure out their attacks and get more Waddle Dees to unlock more features in Waddle Dee Town, like the item shop, which can give you purchasable buffs, or you can unlock additional minigames like the fishing one, or learning what your old high school lunch lady had to deal with and seeing how underpaid they are. Even the Coliseum is unlockable, and this leads me to the copy abilities of Forgotten Land. Sort of. Before we talk about copy abilities, let me just talk about how Kirby is at peak performance in this game. Sure, he can't hover across the whole level, but his regular suction powers deal massive damage, and apparently this is Kirby post Smash Bros. Since apparently Bayonetta taught him how to witch time? Yeah, the game never tells you about it, but Kirby has not only a guard, which is standard to Kirby games, but he can dodge roll out of harm's way. And this ain't Elden Ring, so Kirby can roll as much as he wants. But if you hit the dodge with perfect timing, then you trigger that slowdown, which gives Kirby the opportunity to counter with his copy ability, or just get more evasive maneuvers in. Add in Kirby's Grammy, and we're up 2-0 as to why this is Game of the Year. And that's my transition for going over this game's OST. Really quick, this is not a long tangent, I promise, just let me have this. Kirby music has always been good. You still have your mix of soothing songs and bombastic battle tracks from the same game, and Forgotten Land delivers those with its OST. The opening world's music is so good, as Natural Plains, well, naturally, conveys the theme of a new cozy adventure so well, with Everbay Coast following up, nailing its beach theme, with each level's music thereafter complementing their themes perfectly. And if you're going back into these levels to find those Waddle Dees that you missed, like I often did, then you truly begin to appreciate the fact that the music in this game never gets repetitive or ever feels monotonous. I don't have too much to say about the levels themselves, as while I personally had to redo a bunch of them for that Soul Waddle Dee I missed, I was never bored of them, as these gave me more coins, which I needed to power up my copy abilities. I told you the tangent wasn't going to be that long. This is the new gimmick of Forgotten Land, aside from the mouthful modes, but we'll get to that. Kirby usually has a good variety of copy abilities in his games, but in this one he has 12. And one of them is Sleep. To compensate for the lack of copy abilities in Forgotten Land, Kirby, for the first time ever, I think, can upgrade his abilities. Don't like sword because base copy abilities suck in this game? How about a big sword? One hammer not doing enough for you? How about two that create flaming cyclones?
He wields a gun.
I guess he also got that from Mama Cereza, but what if that gun went to the one place that hadn't been tainted by capitalism? Space! Each of the copy abilities can get their own upgrades, and while some are simple power boosts, others give Kirby a black hole generator. One of my favorite upgrades has to be Time Crash. Not only can you annihilate bosses with it, but it also lets Kirby use stand powers aside, my go-to ability in this game is easily Meta Knight Sword. Unlocking this copy ability has to be one of the series' best moments, as you duel against Meta Knight in the Colosseum, two warriors fiercely locked into battle, entering a blade clash, which is ironic given that's what you think the prongs in the Galaxia would be used for. Then you can actually pick up the sword in the middle of the fight, getting the Meta Knight Sword earlier than you should be able to, and it's the best power-up for like 70% of the game, and it feels good. This is the sword at full power, except for, well, that version, but we'll save that for the end. With the Meta Knight Sword, you not only have sword beams at full health again, but you also get a chargeable spin attack and a multi-hit combo built into your dodge roll. This copy ability can do it all, and I'm pretty sure it's how Kirby stops tax fraud. Now, the other copy abilities aren't bad, you know, except for but they were not created equal. Fire and Ice feel really good, as Dragon Fire looks sick, but Blizzard Ice is my favorite iteration of this ability, and its perfect guard is just icing on top. I think you guys can tell why I have a soft spot for Crystal Needle, but beyond looking cool, the way Needle was reworked for the 3D environment feels incredibly smooth. But then you have bad copy abilities, like Bomb and Hammer. Yeah, Bomb and Hammer, honestly, kinda trash in this game. Normally, these are some of my favorite copy abilities because of how much raw power they pack, but here, nope. Wild Hammer is just way too slow for what it does, and if you want a slow heavy-hitting weapon, Gigant Sword is right there, and not only does it have a perfect guard, it has a perfect guard that damages enemies who hit you. As for Homing Bomb, I mean, yeah, they do as advertised on the box, but who wants them to home in on each other? Tornado is another one that's interesting. They doubled down on the movement options for it, and while I felt powerful using this ability, it's not my preferred choice for combat, although it was one of my preferred choices for level exploration. I felt the same way about Drill, the other new copy ability added alongside Ranger, but you already know how I feel about Ranger. Drill, on the other hand, well, Drill isn't bad. Okay, in combat it's bad, but it's an interesting ability for puzzles and utility, so I don't dislike it, but it's definitely not one of my favorites. Here's my personal tier list on screen, and I'll happily answer some questions in the comments for elaboration as a cheap way to boost engagement so I can appease the YouTube deities. Now, I spent all that time talking about copy abilities, but I didn't explicitly state how you get them. You need 3 things to upgrade your copy abilities. The first is the blueprint for said upgrade, and these are scattered throughout the world and not that hard to find, so that's the easy part. You then take the blueprints to Weapon Shop Waddle Dee, who lets you upgrade your abilities for a price. You will need coins, which you get from playing the game naturally, and rare stones. Rare stones are collectibles you can get from clearing treasure roads, which are glorified challenge missions. Just getting this out of the way now, I don't like these. They should be fun little challenges you can complete in between levels as they unlock, but there's one issue that only I have. You see that? Treasure roads have times to beat, and if you beat the treasure road within a certain amount of time, you get some extra coin. For the love of your sanity, do not waste your time trying to get optimal clears to beat it under that said time. You only get 50 coins for doing it, and some of these requirements are so overly precise and brutal and took me way too long to beat. If you need coins, just stick to the minigames. Screw the tilt and tumble though. You do need to beat it for 100%, but at least you get 3 rare stones from clearing those target times. That said, I think a part of me died when I tried to clear them. Seriously, what is it with Kirby games using system gimmicks that no one likes? Even if you go for 100%, beating the objective time on the treasure roads doesn't get you anything, so don't be like me and try to get those perfect clears, just take the stone and keep the happy Kirby vibes going. That said, spend some time just moving around in the overworld, as there are always 2 hidden treasure roads per world, and these are how you unlock the mouthful mode treasure roads, which brings me back to the main gimmick of Forgotten Land. Thanks to the dimensional fissure, Kirby now has the power to inhale massive objects without getting lockjaw, and use their properties, I guess? Kirby can now drive a car, turn into a water balloon, conduct electricity. Yeah, I don't know how he does that last one, but it's Kirby, so I'm not all that surprised. With Return to Dreamland forcing current Kirby games to have gimmick segments scattered throughout the game, and Planet Robobot really mastering the implementation of these segments with the Robobot, the times you use mouthful mode feel properly integrated into the level and don't break up the pacing at all. Whenever I saw that I had to use one of these objects to progress, I didn't go, oh boy, another scripted segment, like I did whenever I saw the Hypernova fruit in Triple Deluxe. Instead, I was excited to use these powers, with my favorite of course being Kirby. You're saying that I can Vin Diesel my way through tracks as Kirby tries to beat clear times in order to save his found family? I only wish there were more of them throughout the game. Your mileage may vary, as some of the mouthful modes are definitely more engaging than others, and I'm personally not the biggest fan of the light bulb, as you're better off mashing the button to move faster. Not a big fan of the stairs either, it just felt way too slow and clunky for my liking. Loved Ringmouth though, as not only did this enable boat segments, but it was powerful as this thing shreds enemies' health bars. There are a few others that act more as set pieces, but they're fun set pieces, and none of them overstayed their welcome. Overall, I think mouthful modes were a fine addition to the game, but I'm not longing for it to return in a later game, like I'm sure most people are with the Robobot. And with that, we come to the end of the review. Well, at least if I did things normally. In my reviews, I always like to save the story stuff for the end, even though it's bad for attention, just so people can watch these videos even if they haven't played the game. You know, the way a review should be done, even though I know most of you watching have probably already beaten this game and just want to hear more about it, which is why I like making these videos. Listen to me, acting like I've reviewed more than 2 games on this channel thus far, and like one of them wasn't an arrow gay. So, before you leave to hopefully buy this game, let me say that yes, I think the game is worth the full $60 price tag. And I say this as a man who expects 50 hours minimum from his modern RPGs. It took me about 20-ish hours to 100% the game, but I streamed it over on my Twitch channel, shameless plug, and it'll probably take people who are better than me at platformers, which is not a high bar to pass, about 12, maybe 15 hours to 100% it. Now, you can skip to the outro stuff if you want to avoid spoilers, but for those of you trying to comprehend the story with me, let me just give the people not paying attention one last chance to leave as I want to ask. Is this something Lovecraft could have come up with? Okay, so once you clear the 4th world and fight a possessed feral deity, which would have probably created more fan art if buff DDD didn't exist already, he then kidnaps Elflin, still didn't trust that bastard. Then, you spend the next 2 worlds trying to get him back and eventually fight Forgo DDD, get the epic remix, that fight was too easy. Bring on Phase 2, that was also too easy. Bring on Phase 3, never mind, Space Ranger's just that broken. Alright then, we got the king back and...
Long live the king.
Alright then, we lost the king and got... English?
You'll be introduced to the ultimate life form, specimen ID F86.
So, we learned that this planet had a prosperous civilization, which had even managed to figure out teleportation thanks to ID F86 or Fahal, an alien that crashed into the Earth and was subdued before it could go all Armageddon on the planet. That lasted for about 30 years before shit went wrong because, you know, aliens. I don't know, so far we're doing a way better job acknowledging their existence than 3 Houses ever did. But here we are, face to face with the leader of the Beast Pack, Leongar, who speaks coherent English. Or Japanese. Or whatever language you played this in. Point is, he tells us that the residents of planet Popstar were the inhabitants of this planet originally, and that they fled using the technology created from ID F86. Pissed off at your existence, you then fight Leongar, and halfway through the battle, you realize he's possessed by the mousy looking thing behind him. You beat him, and then... And then... And after you clap those cheeks, I mean beat his ass, I mean give him the big suck, I mean win! Win against Fecto Elflin. Kirby then... And then... He's going on the Rainbow Road! Except, oh no, Elflin has to sacrifice himself to save the multiverse or something. Except, no he doesn't, this is a Kirby game. If they can't even kill off Marx, maybe one of the most evil characters in the Kirby lore, this boy is living. So this is where we talk about the post-game, and don't worry, it gets even more fucked up. So, Carol explains to you that Leon was possessed by Fecto Elfilis, and we know that Fecto Elfilis is only mostly dead, and that you need to save Leon's body, which it plans to use as a new host. And let's just cliff notes this, so we now have a dream world created by Fecto Elfilis that it plans to use to plot its revenge, with the body of Leongar as its new vessel. Kirby ultimately stops it, Soul Elfilis tries to get the salty run back, but then Morpho Knight says nah, Thug Finals. Kirby then beats Morpho Knight and gets the Morpho Knight copy ability, and it's triple S tier baby, blows everything else out of the water. It's not even close. And after you fight
Chaos,
you can finally lay this alien to rest. Only took like 3 tries, but hot damn we finally did it. So yeah, that's where we stand on Kirby lore, and honestly, I don't really know enough to piece it all together as I haven't played Star Allies yet, so I don't really know how Morpho Knight really factors into the lore yet. I'm sure there's more to dig into here, especially the whole, oh yeah, this is where the inhabitants of planet Popstar used to live, which means that they were an invasive species that went to another planet because an invasive specimen drove them out of their planet. Ha. Anyways, if you know Kirby lore, feel free to enlighten me in the comments. Just be sure to make a note that it could have spoilers in it for those who don't want to know. And that is the end of this review. Completely. I just wanted to do something different, and Kirby is a game I like. I figured let me get some happy vibes in. I've been doing a lot of harder stuff with like SMT5 and Pokemon was just something different, so I figured let's do something non-RPG based for once, and I really enjoyed my time with Kirby. I genuinely did. Maybe I can do more non-RPG review stuff in the future, but I think just because this fell in the realm of things I enjoyed, I was able to be passionate enough to make this. Don't really got anything additional to add here, so hope to see you guys next time for whatever the heck it is I end up doing. Alright then, peace!